where you find it, the last place that you look. An everlasting romance, like a rose inside a book. A rose inside a book. A rose inside a book. Eyes that I hide behind, eyes that conceal.
Who is Loust St. Clair, the man behind the music?
Loust St. Clair, the man behind the music, is in fact not a man, but an 11-year-old boy back in the early 60s who started listening to the radio for the first time and heard the pop songs that were popular in the 60s and became totally enthralled and infatuated with the music. I call it the foundation. That's how the foundation was built. And I just took it from there, and I realize now that when I was listening to those songs, in my head I was making up melodies of my own and lyrics, and that's how it all got started.
Who are your major influences as a composer?
I would answer that by saying that that decade of the 60s and all the music that it contained, and it was many, many diverse styles of music, but it was all good in my opinion. All of that influenced me, all of it. So in a way, what I'm saying is it's very eclectic. Of course the Beatles stand out, as they would for anyone. The main thing that I took from the Beatles was the structure of a song. They did some unorthodox things which I incorporate, and I'm not the only one who's done that. The other person I'm going to mention is someone called Peter Sarstedt. Not a household name, but if I said to you the song was called Where Do You Go To My Lovely, right away people know who that is. But his body of work was fabulous. Unfortunately, he passed away a couple of years ago, but he was a big influence on me. Huge. I like REM. There's something about Michael Stipe that is intriguing to me. That's not to say that my music is going to sound like REM. I think the lyrics are the influence there. And yeah, so mainly 60s based music is where I'm coming from.
So entrenched in former days, let me go. If I have to give up everything I know, let me go, let me go. If I have to give up everything I own, let me go. Take my arm.
What's your favorite instrument?
My favorite instrument. I'd love to play the tuba. Yeah, an intriguing instrument. My two instruments of choice, and the ones that I can play reasonably well, are the guitar and keyboards. And I'm not at a professional level with those by any means, but I compose. They work well for me in the composing process. They really do. And so those are the two instruments, I would say.
You compose both, vocal and instrumental. Not many composers do that. How is it that you do?
Well, I think the vocal material speaks for itself. Doesn't require an explanation. People write songs with lyrics. Everyone does that. But if we talk about the instrumental stuff, so there's no singing involved, I think when I started watching movies, and they had a theme for the movie, a theme song. Some movies come to mind. The movie Exodus, this theme song from that. Andrew Lloyd Webber, of course, Phantom of the Opera, that kind of thing. And I started going, this is nice. And something inside of me responded to that. And I also believe that it's a challenge, because when you write instrumental music without words, in a sense, you stand naked. They have to hear the music. There are no lyrics to filter what's going on musically. So I really enjoy doing both.
Where are all the kind ones now? They took your hand, they showed you how. There was a
So
time.
do you find that at this point in your life, your music is more a blend of everything, it reflects your whole life, or are you in a different chapter again?
Gee, that's a hard question. No, I understand what you're saying. I think it goes without saying that when you ask a question like that, it applies both to music and it applies to life generally. Not to use a cliche, but that's what it is, essentially. Because if I look at myself as an individual person, okay, well, the music is who I am. So the two go hand in hand. And yeah, there's a growth that happens, there's changes that occur. I like to use the word phases, both for music and for an individual as a person, as a human being. In my case, they tend to go together most of the time. And it's a nice process to be involved in. And it also keeps you going, so you don't get complacent and say, yeah, this is really good, I'm stopping here. No. The idea that you can always keep doing something different and making progress, I value that tremendously.
Any regrets?
Regrets?
Mhm.
I've had a few. No. Honestly, with music, no, absolutely not. Because I look at it as something that I do because I can't do anything else. It's a passion within me. I have no other choice. Sometimes I have music that doesn't turn out the way I'd like it to. I call it not so great. And I don't have any qualms at all about just getting rid of those, because I'm not perfect. I'm not the greatest composer that ever lived. So I discard those, you know? I wouldn't call those regrets. I would call it editing. Okay?
Bridges we have crossed, all the bridges we have crossed.
So what are your goals for your music, both presently and going forward?
Well, the goals for my music, many of them have already been accomplished. Perhaps I shouldn't say that, but it's true. That is to get as many people as possible to simply listen to my music. It doesn't mean that all of them have to love it, but a friend of mine once used the phrase planting seeds, and I thought that was a very good analogy. So you plant as many seeds as you can. Some will grow, some won't grow, etc., etc. I have one particular very specific goal, which I need to mention, and in a perfect world, one of my tunes, either an instrumental or a vocal piece, would appear in either a movie or a TV series, something of that nature, even if it was 20 or 30 seconds, but I would like to see my name there, you know, as a credit. It would mean something to me. Exactly why I feel that way, I'm not sure, but I do.
Who do you think makes up your audience, like the demographics?
That's fairly easy to answer, because I simply go to my analytics on YouTube or whatever the platform is, and I know that it's generally, or mostly, people 30 years of age and older. As far as geographical demographics, that's very interesting to me, because I see that on a regular basis, between 25 and 30 countries worldwide, they're listening to my music. And I am astounded by this, completely astounded, and extremely grateful, very grateful. I don't know them personally, but if I could say thank you personally to each of them and give them a big hug, I certainly would do that. I have what I like to call a modest, loyal following, which has been consistent for the last 5 years. So that's very gratifying for me.
ever inspired of being part of a band or anything like that?
In my younger days, and I'm not telling you how old I am, I'm much younger than I look, of course. Yeah, I used to perform, do gigs, I think we still
Yeah.
use that word,
Yeah, yeah.
gigs, yeah. I'll give you, for instance, when I was at university, there were many coffee houses, and at that time it was the thing to do to socially to be in these coffee houses and hang out and talk to your friends. So I would play there. It was just me and a guitar, but the repertoire that I had at the time fit perfectly, because Bob Dylan was big. I could do him perfectly, or just about, and I'd throw in a Loust Clair original song here and there, and they just soaked it up. So it was wonderful. It was wonderful. But I never really, to answer your question, was part of a band, quote unquote, a band where there would be like a bass player, a drummer, that sort of thing. It might have been nice. And, it may happen in the future.
So, how does a song emerge from inside of you?
How does it emerge? Many different ways. It could be different every time. Usually, I will say it starts with a phrase. I hear it in my head, not to sound too esoteric about it, but I hear a phrase or I hear a melody, either or, and I will take that. That's a catalyst, and from that catalyst, all of a sudden it starts to sprout forth and bloom and take on a life of its own, and I just sculpt away at it until I get a finished product. I love doing this. Can you tell? I love doing it. A friend of mine asked me once, Lou, what do you like doing better? Or, sorry, let me rephrase that. What do you enjoy more, hearing the finished song after the studio production, or actually going through the process of composing the song? And I had to answer, I enjoy the composing part. I enjoy that process. I really do.